Hey guys, welcome to the V Word. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Brianna.
So today we're going to talk about the Fair Oaks Farm video that I'm sure most of you have probably seen, and if you haven't watched the video yourself, you've probably seen it pop up on your newsfeed or heard a coworker talk about it. I'm sure you've heard of it. If not, we're going to tell you a little bit about the video. The video was extremely difficult to watch, but I think it was also very eye-opening. It takes a look into the Fair Oaks Farm, which is a large dairy industry that's here in Indiana, and
Animal Recovery Mission.
there we go.
Yes.
So the Animal Recovery Mission, it's vegan activism. The Animal Recovery Mission, they're a vegan activist group who work to end the cruelty of animals. They went undercover at the Fair Oaks Farm, which is here in Indiana, and caught about an hour and a half long, full of footage.
And they were there a total of 3 months.
Yes, a total of 3 months, and they just found a crazy amount of totally disgusting and repulsive cruelty that was happening to the dairy cows every single day.
Yes, by the employees, not even just the low-level employees, but the managers, the supervisors, everyone that worked at this farm, from different tiers, contributed to this cruelty to the animals.
Yeah. And it went from things from, punching the cows, kicking them, stomping on their heads.
Force feeding them and getting mad at them for not taking the milk from the bottle and just beating the crap out of them, throwing them.
Throwing them in pens, keeping them in crazy extreme heat. There was one footage of cows kept in 113 degree temperatures for long periods of time. Many of those cows died of heat exhaustion and dehydration and
from not eating, because they're not meant to drink out of a bottle. They're meant to drink from their mom, but they can't because that dairy is used to sell to the people. So they have to be fed from a formula in a bottle, and a lot of them just don't like it, and then they starve to death, and yeah.
So that's kind of what we're here to talk about now, and we're here to talk about several of the points. We've heard arguments about Facebook about it. We've heard coworkers arguing about it, and we want to give our take on it, because, I think it needs to be talked about, and so this is kind of our take. One of the arguments we've heard is that people think it's staged. People think that ARMS, which was the Animal Recovery Mission. Animal Recovery Mission, people were saying that they staged the whole thing and that all they wanted to do was
turn people off to dairy. And
right, which, sure, they want to turn people off from dairy. They want to reduce that intake, to reduce the cruelty, but there's no way this was staged.
Right, their whole entire mission is to help the animals and to show people the cruelty that comes with the dairy industry and the meat industry. So there is no way that a group of people whose entire life's mission is set out to help these animals would purposely put these animals in danger to prove a point, as people are saying. That's just not, it's not logical. It's almost comical that people believe that would be a thing.
I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Right.
It is. And for years we would have tried to have denied it ourselves because it hits close to home. It hurts to even admit. But that's what happened. That's not staged. Those were real cows in real situations, and those were real employees at a real company who was doing that to these sentient, innocent beings who had no say.
Yeah, and another reason we would know that it's not staged is the fact that when the owner came out with the video talking about it and apologizing for the actions of his employees, so that proves they were his employees. He was the farmer, the people that hired them, and they were the ones doing these acts. So nothing about it was staged. It wasn't other vegan activists as employees abusing the animals to get it on footage. It was nothing like that. It was actual employees of the farm doing these things.
Yeah, what happened was real. Even the owner himself, he knows that was under his watch. He knows that was his company and his people and his cows. He does know that, so this was not staged. Another argument that we were seeing was people were saying, Fair Oaks Farm has a see something, say something. They have that motto. So people were saying, why did ARMS wait so long to come out with this and tell us about it? Why did they wait so long and let all these animals keep going through that? You have to have footage to back up what you're saying. You have to have something to base this off of. So they wanted to have enough to work with.
Yeah, so imagine imagine them going here for 3 months, the arms people going here for 3 months and just like getting done with the whole experience after a day and being like posting on Facebook like, hey guys, they really abuse their animals. Like, people aren't even believing the video footage they put out collected over 3 months. So why in the world would anyone believe them if they just made a Facebook post and was like, hey guys, we caught a lot of cruelty at this farm? They wanted to have this collection of footage to show the public because, I mean, the whole entire farm has like, people take field trips here and stuff and people can visit the farm and see how they supposedly run their business. But like, they wanted you to really see the behind the scenes. They wanted you to see the things that actually happen like day by day at the farm, and they couldn't have just like told you about it. You needed to see it for yourself.
Yeah. The CEO says that, you know, they monitor it closely and they always make sure that their animals come first and that, you know, this never happens, but there's just no way that this happened without him knowing. There's no, cows aren't taught to mask their emotions. It's not going to be quiet. They're going to know. Like, I do not believe that he did not know. I believe that he's sorry about it. I believe that he feels bad. But I don't believe he didn't know.
But let's even say that he did know. I agree that he knew. But let's say that he didn't know. That almost makes it worse. That means that this happened for 3 months straight, and they have such a poor control over their employees that they had no idea for 3 months. You would think that they would be monitoring this stuff. Like they say they do.
Like
if they
they
really
say.
care about their animals, they would be very closely monitoring this.
Yes.
There would be people out there watching for it. There would be like surveillance cameras. Like, they would have all of these things in place so that when things happened, they would know. And that just wasn't the case.
Sure. And another thing with the see something, say something, and that's not truly enforced is because arms weren't the only people there.
Right.
There were more people there who could have seen something and said something. And they didn't. So where were those people? Only 4 people were reprimanded for these acts. But where were the rest of them? There's no way they did not see them. So if they're going to go at arms for not saying something,
How about the other
what about the other ones?
Yeah.
Where were they? I mean, because
should-
I think that if you truly believe that as a company, that should be enforced too.
Yeah,
And
so
other
they
people,
should be ridiculed as well. So if people are saying like, oh yeah, like it's easy to take a stab at arms in this instant because those are the people that at the moment that people want to like not really believe right now.
well,
and
right.
want to think it's
And
a
of
staged
course,
thing.
but they had a reason to be there. That's
Right.
why they were undercover.
Yes, correct.
But they also had reason to believe that they should have been there to see something.
Right.
Veal issue that was brought up. You know, a lot of times Fair Oaks Farm promised that they were not sending the dairy calves to selling them to veal.
Yeah, and this was like in writing, like they said multiple times that they did not support that and then they just didn't do that. And when they arms followed the calf transport to where it was going and it went to Midwest veal. So that proves also that regardless of the rules that they have set in place, regardless of what's in writing, it's almost irrelevant because like that still happened. Therefore, anything can still happen. They might have rules that say, "Oh, we don't abuse our animals here. Don't you dare do it. You'll get fired." But
It's a blatant lie.
yeah, it's in writing. It doesn't mean it's upheld.
And you don't know. And that's the
Right.
thing. Like, you can say anything on, I mean, obviously he's going to come out in public and say something because he's about to lose his entire company.
Right.
But what happens on on the camera in the public is obviously not what's happening behind the scenes. That's a product I can't support. I know this is not an isolated case.
No, absolutely not. In a very general note, let's say that the extra abuse that occurred in the video didn't happen. Let's say that no one beat the calves, no one threw them, they weren't aggressive with them, and you know, like overall, like there was no cruelty and abuse and harm directly done to the cows. Regardless, the dairy industry is still cruel and promotes suffering because the female cows are forcibly impregnated over and over and again. And as soon as she has these babies, they're immediately taken away from her and separated, as you saw on the video, so that the baby cows cannot access the mother's milk so that consumers can have it. And like you also saw in the video, the mothers cry out for days, losing their voices because they are in so much anguish over the fact that their babies are separated from them.
And and the baby calves refuse to eat,
Yeah.
which we brought up earlier. They refuse to eat because they're force-feeding formula down their throats. 1, that's not what they're supposed to eat.
Right.
And 2, they're in turmoil. Maybe they're not eating because they're
Stressed.
and exhausted and they have no appetite. Either way, it's repulsive.
Right.
What that video showed is repulsive, regardless of whether they stomped on the cows' heads or hit them or dumped them into crates. But regardless of that, what they do to the cows and their babies is sickening.
They're kept in the smallest confined places. And also, something that a lot of people didn't seem to know when I was discussing things with people on Facebook is a cow left alone, living naturally, lives about 20 years. A dairy cow lives an average of 5 years. The mother cows are so exhausted that they die like 15 years early because they're constantly impregnated, constantly hooked up to machines to be milked, and they're just so tired and they can't live.
And what is that 5 years?
Yeah.
Like, what is the 5 years? It's them in captivity, it's them stressed, it's them, honestly, it's them miserable.
Being slaves. So in general, despite whether or not there was like blatant abuse as the video showed, dairy in general is a very cruel industry. And another thing I noticed on Facebook is that a lot of people said that like they would share it and then they said that they refused to watch it, or like they started watching and they just couldn't finish it. I understand because it's absolutely repulsive to watch. The problem with that is the fact that if you are purchasing these items, if you are supporting this industry, how can you not even watch the video? Like, if you can't even watch the video, how do you imagine the actual animals feel going through it? That's just not.
And obviously,
insane.
if you can't watch the video, you don't agree with their behavior.
Yes.
But if you're still consuming and buying these products, you're still supporting this behavior and these products.
There's no excuse to turn a blind eye to something like this because we have all of these videos, all of this footage, not just from this instance, but from so many other undercover missions by these animal activists that show that these things happen. So there's no turning a blind eye to this stuff. There's no like ignorance is bliss. Like, we know these things are happening. There's no reason to.
We know they're happening, and we have the power to make them stop by making better choices.
Yes. And another point that we wanted to hit on was the fact that a lot of people are talking about, oh, this is a very isolated case. This is how all dairy industries are. You know, this is just this one farm. Don't criticize all of the dairy industry and all of these farmers based on one farm's way of working. And that is just so far from the truth. Like I already said, you can get on YouTube, you can type in dairy industry, like footage, and you will see all of these things. It doesn't matter what dairy farm it's from, the same main cruel things happen. The female cow is forcibly impregnated, her baby is taken away, they cry out in anguish for them, the baby cow does not get her milk, they are force-fed and often don't even drink the milk because that's not what they naturally are meant to do. They die from exhaustion. They're meant to live 20 plus years, but they die at 5 because they are so exhausted. The babies are sent to become veal, and the moms are eventually taken to the slaughterhouse when she's no longer profitable for the industry. So this is not an isolated case. This is how the dairy industry works worldwide, like, period.
It's an industry that's out for profit and pure profit. Nothing else. And the ones that are suffering because of it are the sentient beings that are being forced to live these miserable lives for their entire short-lived lives.
And you can tell if these animals are in pain too. A lot of people, will be like, oh, it's just an animal, Well, regardless, you can see in the video that the animals are crying out and that they're in so much pain. And you can just like in the heat, you could see them convulsing in their little confined areas from the heat and being so exhausted.
I mean, don't disconnect yourself. They might be cows, but they're not much far away from your house pet. It's not that far off. They're still sentient beings, innocent beings that can feel pain. And that's what they're living every single day in these industries.
Imagine these cows replaced with dogs, and then all of a sudden the whole entire perspective of everyone changes. All of a sudden it would be, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I'm never supporting this industry again. But it's it's still an animal. Yeah. So regardless of what kind of animal it is, it's happening, they feel this, and they don't deserve to go through it. The last thing that we wanted to touch on is the fact that you do not have to support this industry. There are so many dairy alternatives, and Wendy knows a lot of good statistics about the dairy alternatives and things about that, so she's gonna talk about that.
So dairy is not healthy. It's just not. It's toxic to your body. Regardless of the Got Milk campaign that tells us that you need milk for calcium and strong bones. It's not true. One thing that I have come to find out is that younger, I didn't have lactose intolerance at all. I could drink milk, I could down it like crazy. Well, the older I got, the more and more I started noticing symptoms of lactose intolerance. We've all heard the term lactose intolerance. It's huge.
One thing I wanted to say about that as well is how Wendy just explained when she was little and she could drink more milk and now she can't. That's not just Wendy. That's so many people.
That is actually 65% of the human species. 65% of humans have reduced their ability to digest lactose since infancy. Well, why is this? This is because our bodies have weaned off of it since we stopped drinking our mother's milk. Now, into adulthood, 90% of people are at least mildly lactose intolerant, saying things like that it makes them constipated, it makes them bloated, it makes their stomachs upset. That's at least the mildest form of lactose intolerance, and there's a reason for that. Because we have been weaned off milk. We are the only species that drinks milk into our adulthood, but it's not even our mom's milk.
Completely different species.
It is a milk of a completely different species.
And as you've heard, we're the only mammal to drink another mammal's milk, and we are the only mammals that are still breastfeeding and up to our 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So, yeah, I mean, to say that milk is healthy for you, I don't care if it's 90% light, I don't care if it's reduced fat, I don't care what form of milk you're drinking, it's toxic to your body.
It doesn't take away the cholesterol in it, the fat in it, everything that comes with drinking and mammal secretions. Like, it's just insane. And you have to think also, a mother cow's milk is meant to get a little baby calf this size up to a full-grown cow. Like, that's what her milk does. It helps them grow. We are such smaller mammals, and we wonder why we have all these health problems. It's like, well,
and we consume
drinking
it at
growth
such
hormones.
a high rate. Think about how much we sprinkle cheese on things. I want triple the cheese on my pizza. I want broccoli coated in cheese. I want potatoes coated in cheese. We coat everything in cheese. So the amount of dairy that we intake in a day is insane. It's insane, and our bodies are fighting back.
Yes. But on a happier note, the amazing news is over 20 stores have taken Fairlife's products off of their shelves and refused to sell it based on this video. Now, this happens on all dairy facilities, all dairy farms, so it's kind of crazy to think about all the other milk that's for sale and knowing it's still out. But the fact that this is happening is such a huge step in the right direction. And we just wanted to let everyone know that dairy sales have already been going down in the last years. Their industry has made $1 billion less in profit in 2018 than they usually do. So dairy sales are going down and alternative milks are going up.
And there are so many alternatives. There's oat milk, there's cashew milk. For anybody who's thinking that they don't want to consume soy, you don't have to get soy milk.
Nope.
There is so many different milks, and it has plenty of protein, plenty of calcium, plenty of other nutrients, and dairy is it's unneeded. It's unneeded, it's unnecessary, and we can do better without it.
So go to the store, pick up a liter of coconut milk and pour yourself some cereal. Get on YouTube, do your own research, watch some dairy footage, and just overall consider the facts, consider the footage, and decide if it aligns with your morals. And if it does still align with your morals and you want to continue drinking it, that's on you. But if you understand how sad and just you feel repulsed by the information you've been presented, please go and substitute. Like she said, so many alternatives.
Do something about it. I mean, that's all we can do. We can do something.
So go out, make some change, and ditch dairy.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate any feedback or discussion that you would like to have with us. We are more than happy to answer any questions. So that was the V word. So
Yep.
the end.